Welcome back. It's 2 minutes after 10 o'clock. We are running over, and that is because we need to have this very important interview with our next guest, and that is Dr. Quraysha Sooliman. Haji Dr. Quraysha Ismail Sooliman is on standby to talk to us about the Palestinian situation. Now, every day when I come into the studio and we do a story on Palestine, I say to myself, this is the worst atrocity that I've ever heard of since the start of the genocide. But it seems as if the illegal occupiers just come up with the most hideous and sadistic ways of, you know, really punishing these innocent Palestinian people. And every day I kind of think this is the worst I've seen or heard, but it just seems to get ever worse with every passing day. And I kind of ask the question, when will the madness and the inhumanity stop as far as the illegal occupiers are concerned and the horror that they are infringing upon the Palestinian people? Assalamu alaikum to you, Haji Dr. Quraysha Ismail Sooliman. Wonderful to be talking with you this morning. And I'm sure you'd like to respond to my introduction about the horrors of the impunity and the genocide and the ethnic cleansing, and the list goes on. And never mind everybody else, what about those innocent little children? The innocent little children who are being slaughtered en masse.
Walaikum salam wa
Quraysha.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah, Julie, for that very sobering introduction. It certainly, it hits very much in every part of one's being, if one considers what is happening on a daily basis in terms of the genocide in Gaza. The reality is that, you're right. You're right when you say that every day we wake up and we hope that we're not going to see anything, worse, and then the next day it just gets worse. And there's a atrocity, a barbarism that comes from the Zionist Israeli forces, and from the Israeli population on its own, considering that 95% of the Israeli population support a plausible genocide in Gaza, and they feel that enough. What shall I say? Israel hasn't been cruel enough on the Palestinian people, and this is their mentality, and they have been taught to hate. And when somebody has been taught to hate, then the extent of that hatred has absolutely no bounds. So, if you consider what they're doing, I mean, we just saw yesterday or was it the day before, of the injured Palestinian tied to this bulldozer and being dragged all over, and then the beheaded babies that we are seeing on a constant basis. And then, of course, I mean, it's hard to even give expression for these words to come out from one's mouth. When one looks at the pictures, you think this can't be real. This is not happening. But it is happening, and it is happening by a people, a nation that has been groomed in hatred. Nelson Mandela said that no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, then of course he offers a solution. He said they can be taught to love, because love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. And it's true. It's easier to love than it is to hate. I mean, hate takes so much out of you. But these people, these white supremacists, have been schooled and groomed. They've been fed and bred on hatred of anybody other than themselves, the belief in their superiority, the belief, in their whiteness, the belief in their entitlement, their belief in their right to take whatever. And that's why they came with impunity, go into Palestinian lands as they came into, the settlers came into African lands, and they stole the lands, and they were not shy about it, not remorseful about it. They have absolutely no sense of guilt. You remember that video of the one settler? I don't call them settlers anymore. I actually call them squatters, because that's what they are. They come from Europe and America, etc., as squatters. They come into other people's lands. They steal their lands. They steal their homes, and they do it smilingly. And that one settler, that one squatter, do you remember? He said, "If I don't steal it, somebody else will."
Absolutely.
He told the Palestinian woman, and this is their nature. So, Julie, I think we have to face the reality that these horrors will continue until only, I think, only when Allah intervenes. That right
I
now,
mean,
that's the only solution I see.
two things I'd like to raise with you, Quraysha, is I've often wondered about the psychology of the indoctrination of their children from the time they're able to understand that they are superior. And I kind of wonder what sort of indoctrination in psychology is involved in these people spreading such deep seated hatred towards people who are of a different color to them. That's number one. And then go back to the, is this about intergenerational trauma? Go back to their previous generations and see what the Germans did to, or the Nazis did to the Jewish people back in the days of the Holocaust. Surely that should be a learning not only to these genocidal murderers, but to all of us ordinary people all around the world, that life is precious and nobody's superior to any other race or human being. And we are here to live in peace and harmony and to love and protect. And we as Muslims know what Allah tells us about how precious life is if you kill one human being, it's as if you have annihilated an entire generation or a human race. So one wonders at their psychology, their psyche, and how they live with themselves, doing what they're doing, the horrors they are actually perpetrating on the Palestinian people, knowing that their forefathers were victims of the Holocaust.
So if you look at their psyche, basically, I mean, there's much has been written about the Israeli claim to their trauma, but I mean, the majority of the squatters that are living in Israel are not even linked to the Holocaust. Many of them have come from all over the world and do not even have a claim, in terms of ancestral heritage, to what has happened to their forefathers. That's one thing. The second thing is, if you look at how the trauma has been weaponized, it is a propaganda weapon, because fear in Israel is sustained through militarization and, of course, also through anti-Palestinian narratives. And what they do is they reframe resistance as terrorism, exactly as they did in apartheid South Africa, where they described the resistance of movements like the MK, the ANC, etc., as terrorist organizations, but not as resistant movements. And then they appeal to past atrocities. They focus on perceived threats, and they promote the whole notion of segregation and apartheid. In other words, you remember the whole concept of Swat Khafar that was
Yep.
propagated in South Africa. We have to keep the black people separate because they're dangerous, they are violent. The same application is put in Palestine. We have to keep the Palestinians separate because they're dangerous, they are violent, they are Arab barbarians. So this is how the mentality, the very logic of the separation and the sphere is perpetuated, and their minds are indoctrinated. So there is a chronic fear which is induced into them, that if you don't kill them, they're going to kill you. So wherever you see them, whenever you see them, irrespective of whether it's a child, it's a baby, it's a woman, it's a pregnant mother, it's an innocent father, whoever it is, you must kill them for you to be safe. So that is how their notion of self-defense materializes based on the dehumanization, this toxic fear, mix of fear, of dehumanizing, of propaganda. And of course, the Israeli state then rewards their aggression. And the international system of state, the racist white European states, also reward them for this dehumanization of the Palestinian people. So, all of these come together. And we see then that this is why you have these persistent and consistent behavior from Israelis. It's strange. People ask, like, don't they see that the rest of the world hates them? Don't they see now that there's an entire change in the narrative, in the way people perceive the Zionists, the way in which people perceive the Israelis, and there's no longer any sympathy for the Holocaust or for Jewish, for the Jews or survivors of the Holocaust. What we're happening and what we're beginning to see now is a complete turnaround, an absolute resentment from the Zionists. And unfortunately, from the resentment from the Zionists, there is going to be a significant rise of anti-Semitism. There is going to be a rise of anti-Jewish hatred that will come up because people are fed up. And you know what? They're tired of the way in which it has been portrayed, the way in which this victimhood has been materialized or instrumentalized and weaponized to perpetuate perhaps the most evil of evils that we are seeing today in what is happening in Gaza. And I think Chris Sidoti said it perfectly well, the one of the UN special rapporteurs, when he said that Israel is, what he has seen is that perhaps Israel is the most criminal army that he has ever seen, or the most criminal army in the world. So all of these come together, but ultimately, just remember, Julie, that it's all being brought together. This is created. It is not something natural. That is created. It has been taught. It has been fed into the education systems, into the upbringing, into the society, into the media, into the socialization, for one purpose and one purpose only, is to steal Palestinian land, to dehumanize them, to justify the killing of people as it was justified the killing of the Iraqis by this false claim of weapons of mass destruction. As it was justified in all of the other horrors that we see in the world. They have to find a way to dehumanize the other in order to justify the action. So this is taught, and there are people instrumental in this teaching, and they have to be held to account.
It's obviously this whole notion around the New World Order. It's definitely playing out now. We can see it in front of our eyes. And I'm just wondering, in closing, then, Quraysha, how do you see, I think of these young soldiers, these not even soldiers, these IDF murderers. They barely 18 years old, and they are sent out into the field to do these horrific acts of murder and wholesale slaughter. 5 years and 10 years from now, inshallah, once the Palestinian people have been emancipated and they have a right to return and they'll take back what is lawfully theirs, what is going to happen to all these damaged IDF murderers and the rest of the Zionists? Because or do they not have a conscience?
Well, as far as they're concerned, they are entitled. So their consciousness is clearly tied to the entitlement. Their brutality is tied to the fact that, Palestinian life has no value. These people deserve to die. So, they will continue on this path. And, one can only hope and believe that there will be some kind of retribution. Actually, Judy, I'm beyond that point of feeling sorry for them, or hoping for a solution for them, or even hoping for their redemption. What I'm hoping for is retribution. I'm at that point right now. I'm hoping for their retribution, and I really, I pray that Allah's punishment will be inflicted upon them in the most severest of ways for what they have done. Ultimately, one has to recognize that all of these people, these IDF, and most of them, like I said, are squatters from Europe and from America, from Australia, from Canada, etc., that have come from all over the world to come and defend what? They haven't come to defend anything. They've come to satisfy their egos, their desire to kill. Like I said many, many weeks ago, it's as if they are on a party hunting a prey. This is their sense of glee. You've seen the videos, right? Their glee, their enjoyment. It's as if they're enjoying killing. How can one enjoy killing to this extent? Innocent children, babies, pregnant mothers, disabled individuals, old people. There's something seriously wrong with them. And I'm not even going to, try and basically give them a way out by calling them mentally ill, because they're not mentally ill. These are depraved individuals.
Quraysha,
Yeah, sorry.
you get mad people and you get bad people. These are
Yeah,
really bad people. But in
exactly.
closing, then,
Yeah.
what I do want to say is I think history does repeat itself, and we've
Mhm.
seen what happened. History tells us what happened to the American soldiers that returned from Vietnam. I think that was a
Yes.
drop in the ocean. We're going to see what's going to play out post the emancipation of the Palestinian people. Your final
So,
thought on that
yeah,
comment of mine?
inshallah, I hope you're right, and that is the only way that we will see a significant retribution. And also, we need to remember that history does not necessarily move forward. Sometimes it moves in circles. And with
Mm,
regard to Palestinian occupation, it certainly is moving in circles. It's time to break that circle, and every single one of us must start, making as much noise and doing everything possible in order to ensure that we do not contribute economically in any way to the occupation.
inshallah, Ameen. Shukran so very much for being with me on the show this morning. Haji Dr. Quraysha Ismail Sooliman talking about the situation or the psyche of the madness and the horrors that we see being perpetrated by the genocidal Israelis or illegal occupiers on innocent Palestinian people. Thank you. Go well. And till the next time, assalamu alaikum to you. 18 after 10 o'clock, time to wrap up. Thank you indeed to our producers, content producer Nasri Naidu, and the technical producer, of course, is you, Abdul Salam. Thanks. And till the next time with me, right here on News and Views, please take care on the roads. It is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz.